Hello. Now what we're going to be doing is applying what I taught you about the ratios of the trigonometric functions, so sine, cosine, and tangent. I'm going to show you how you can use these ratios to solve for a missing side on your right triangle. So remember, another technique you can use to solve for the sides of a right triangle is to use the Pythagorean theorem, but you can only use the Pythagorean theorem if you know at least two sides of your right triangle, which if you see in all these examples, I know one side of the right triangle, but that's it. Okay, so you cannot use the Pythagorean theorem on these examples to solve for the sides of your right triangle. Guys, so that is when your trigonometric ratios will come into play. So you can use these trig functions to help you solve for the missing sides of right triangles. Be careful, you can only do this with a right triangle. Now, for these problems, you will need, I would like you to use both your graphing calculator as well as to go to Desmos.com, because I'm going to show you how you can find the side values using either your calculator or Desmos.com. So why don't you go ahead, you can go to Desmos.com. Okay, when you get there, you click Start Graphing. You can also have your graphing calculator out, and when we get to the part where I show you how to type it in, you can minimize your video screen and then have Desmos open on the other side of your screen so you can see the video and Desmos at the same time. So you can kind of practice typing in these values into Desmos as I'm doing it. Okay, but before we get there, let's talk about how we can use these ratios to solve for the sides of a right triangle. Guys, so we cannot forget sine, cosine, and tangent. SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. Sine is the opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is the adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. Okay, so in our problem, if you see in all of these, we know one angle other than the right angle in your right triangle, which technically you can find the other angles if you need to, but in this problem, we're solving for side length, so it doesn't really matter what the other angle is. But we are going to start from an angle that is not a right angle. Okay, you cannot start from the right angle. Okay, and we're going to use these ratios to find the missing side length. All right, now, before I get started, okay, in terms of what you guys have been given, you need to label, are these two sides the opposite and hypotenuse? Or are they the adjacent and hypotenuse? Or are they the opposite and the adjacent? Okay, and depending on what you're given, that will tell you which trig function to use. Okay, so let's start labeling the side lengths that we've been given. Okay, so side x is the side across from the 43 degrees. So what do you guys think? Is this the opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? Well, the side directly across from the angle you've been given, this is the angle we've been given, that's not the right angle. Okay, so the side directly across is called the opposite, which I'm just going to abbreviate with an O. Okay, now 12, this is the side directly next to the 43. That is not the hypotenuse, because the hypotenuse is the side across from the right angle. So this side is called the adjacent side, which I will call an A. Okay, so we need to know which trig function has an opposite and an adjacent in it. Okay, so sine is opposite and hypotenuse, so it's not sine. Cosine is adjacent and hypotenuse, so it's not that one. But tangent is opposite and adjacent. So I have an opposite and adjacent, so this is telling me we're going to use the tangent function. Okay, so this is going to be tangent. Inside the tangent, we're going to put the angle, which the angle is 43 degrees. Okay, and then this will equal, okay, we're going to do the opposite over the adjacent. Opposite and adjacent. Okay, so the opposite side is the side x. The adjacent side is the side 12. Okay, and now what we're going to do is solve for x. Okay, so I'm going to write tangent over 1 like this. So do you guys remember when we have a fraction equal to another fraction, how do we solve? We do cross multiply. So if you like cross multiplying, then you're going to love trig functions, because we're going to be cross multiplying all day long. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm going to start by going this way. I'm going to multiply the 1 to the x, so 1 times x is x. And that will equal, now I'm going to go the other way. So I'm going to multiply tangent of 43 to 12. Guys, now when you multiply trig functions to a number, usually the way we write it, we're going to put the number out in front. We're going to say 12 times tangent of 43, or 12 tangent of 43. Okay, which remember, when two things are written side by side, they're secretly multiplication. Okay, so just letting you know, typically we put the number in front and the trig function second. It's not wrong to say tangent 43 12. It just gets a little tricky when you have the 43 next to the 12 because some people might think you multiply them, which you don't. Okay, so we're going to write it like this. Now, to figure out what this is, we need to type it into our calculator. Okay, and what we're going to do, I didn't tell you guys how much to round to, but we're just going to round to the nearest tenth. Why don't we round to the nearest tenth? Okay, so get out your graphing calculator. I'm going to show you how to type this bad boy into your calculator. Oh, I want that out and this so we can see. Well, hold on. Let's see if it'll let me show you this screen and my calculator at the same time. That would be nice. Please. Rats. I don't know why it's doing this. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Let me close out all this mess. Okay. Please work. Maybe if I do that. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now I can see what I'm supposed to type in. Sorry. Alright, so anyways, turn on your graphing calculator. If you guys notice on your calculator, they have these nifty sine, cosine, and tangent buttons. Do you guys see it? Sine, cosine, tangent, which we abbreviate with SIN. It's still sine. It's not a sin. We don't sin in math. COS, which is still cosine. Don't call it cos. And tangent, which is TAN, which again, please don't call it tan. We don't get tans in math, okay? We're quite pale people in math. But anyway, so, just kidding. But anyway, so this one is for tangent. Okay, so we're going to be using the tangent button. Now, before you use your graphing calculator, it's very important that your graphing calculator is in degrees. Our angle, if you guys see here, this little symbol means degrees. Okay, just like when you measure a length, you can measure length in like inches, feet, yards, all that. So like our standard way to measure, or you can use the metric system and measure in centimeters, millimeters, meters, etc. So like there's several ways, several different types of units and ways you guys can measure lengths. Well, guess what? You probably didn't know, but there's more than one way to measure an angle in math. You can measure in degrees. You can also measure in something called radians, which you'll learn about later, which pertains to how many lengths of the radius that your angle will cover as it's opening up and forming like a circle. But anyway, so we need to make sure we're in degrees and not radians. If we're in radians and we're supposed to be in degrees, you're going to get something really weird. Okay, so how you do that on your calculator, you go to mode. Okay, remember, you need to be in degrees. Currently, it says radians is highlighted on my calculator, which means it will calculate it in terms of the length of the radius of a circle. Okay, we don't want it to do that. We want it to calculate it in terms of degrees. So you're going to scroll over to degree and hit enter. And now that it's highlighting degree, now I know my calculator is in degrees and not radians. So always check to make sure your calculator is in degrees first. Okay, I'm going to hit clear. Then I'm just going to type this into my calculator just like I see it. So I'm going to type 12. I'm not even going to hit multiply. You can, but you don't have to. I'm going to hit the tangent button. I'm going to hit 43. You don't have to use the degree symbol. I'll close my parenthesis, and then I'll hit enter. So we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to go out 2 decimal places. I have a 0.19. That 9 is going to bump up the 1 to a 2. So the side length is 11.2. And I don't know what the units are because they didn't tell me. Alright, so my final answer would be x equals 11.2. And again, you could put units since I don't know the units like that. Or just 11.2. Guys, so the missing side of our triangle that we don't know is 11.2. Okay, I'm also going to show you how to type this into Desmos real quickly. So go to desmos.com and you just literally just type it in, you guys. So it's 12 tangent 43. But like on your graphing calculator, you need to make sure that Desmos is in degrees and not radians. So how you do it on Desmos.com, you're going to click on this little wrench thing. That's the settings. So click on the nifty little wrench. Okay, if you go down here, let's see, where is it? Oh yeah, down at the bottom. Sorry guys. If you go to the very bottom, see how it says radians and degrees? Well, currently it's highlighted in radians. I need it to be in degrees, so I'm going to click degrees. Okay, so you click on the wrench, you go to the very bottom, and bam, you click on degrees. Okay, and then you literally just type it in this line just like you see it. So I'm going to type 12 tangent 43. So 12, I'm just going to type tangent, I'm going to write TAN, parenthesis 43. Not 432. And look at that, we get the same thing. Okay, you guys also can go down to the keyboard button. You could go to the function button. If you guys see, that's also where you can find tangents. So you could say like 12, and then you could go to the function key and hit the TAN, the tangent button, and then type 43. So either way, that's how you can, whoa, sorry guys, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's see here. Sorry, my computer is being annoying. Alright, so anyways, that's how you type it in. Again, the function tool is really cool on Desmos because you can get to any kind of function that you need. So we got all the trig stuff, there's stat stuff, you got miscellaneous stuff, so you have like square roots here and different things, there's fractions, things like that. So all that's in here. Actually, that's not a fraction, don't click that. That's actually a derivative. Don't click that. But anyways, you have all types of functions in here if you need to use them. But yeah, so that's where you go to type that in. All right, now we're going to move on to example 4. Nice job, you guys.